Hey Witties, I hope everybody's holding up alright. My name is James, and I'm a senior at Whitman this year, and one of the leaders of the Peer Listeners program on campus. And during this time of social distancing, we wanted to throw together a little mini training about how to be a better listener. So, most specifically within the context of, how we are now in communication with people that we can't see in person, at least. So, phone calls, Skype, FaceTime, things like that. So we're going to talk a little bit about 3 big active listening skills. So we hope this is helpful for you. I think it's especially important right now to be a good listener and to be present with people in whatever form that may take. So thanks for watching. I'm sure your friends and family will appreciate it. And I will pop back in at the end to sign off. Cool.
My name is Jackie, and I am also one of the peer listener leaders, and I'm currently a sophomore. So I'm going to be talking about active listening, things that can be applied over a virtual platform or in person in general. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is body language, and this is obviously something that is more easily picked up on and expressed in person, but I will eventually go into ways that it can be, the best ways that it can be implemented on a virtual platform as well. So the biggest thing with body language is maintaining an open and neutral position. This makes the peer feel more comfortable, and hopefully they feel like you are more engaged in the conversation. So an open neutral position means like not crossing your arms or legs, generally facing the peer at a 90-degree angle, which is a really specific angle, but just making sure that you're not just directly facing the peer, because that can be really intimidating, but also you don't want to be facing away from the peer. So a nice medium is kind of a 90-degree like square angle. And specifically with in-person, it's really nice if you just subtly lean in the direction of the peer, so they feel like you are really like almost on the edge of your seat, kind of like really interested in their conversation. And also you want to remain relaxed. This is obviously easier to pick up on in person, but if the peer feels that you are like tense and uncomfortable, they're also going to feel tense and uncomfortable and not going to want to share as much as maybe they were going to. And this is all for in person. And then another thing about in person is mirroring. Mirroring is exactly what it sounds like. You want to kind of mimic the body language of the peer to make them feel more comfortable, and it's a more familiar setting for them. So if your peer is like kind of laid back and like sitting back, then feel free to do the same, and just kind of picking up on their body language and mirroring it in yours, and that'll really help the space of the conversation. And then if your peer is closed off and their arms are crossed and they're like really not looking at you, you don't want to mirror that. You just want to meet them kind of in the middle with a neutral stance. Again, your arms and legs uncrossed and just kind of open and ready and willing to listen to them. In terms of on a virtual platform, a really big thing is eye contact. It is so easy on virtual platforms to not maintain eye contact and be doing so many other things while a peer is talking to you, but you really want to like look at the camera, look at them, like make sure they know that you're really listening to them, especially in these times when there's less resources for people maybe to use when they need to talk through things. And once again, your body language can still be like open. You don't want to be like sitting there with your arms crossed or just like, very obviously not engaged. You really want to be engaged with these conversations online, especially because it is so hard to read other nonverbal cues. Something that can be used both in person and on a virtual platform is affirmations. A lot of people do these affirmations naturally when they're listening to somebody, such as nodding, saying like, yeah, uh-huh, just making sure that the peer knows that you're continuously invested in the conversation rather than just like having it all go like way over your head or whatever it may be. And that'll make them feel more comfortable in what they're saying and hopefully make them want to share more and feel like they are being listened to. And another really big thing, especially on an online platform, is to not interrupt the peer. And don't look at your watch. Don't check your phone. Don't be doing other things on the video call, like checking your email or texting somebody else. It's so easy because there's so many things at our fingertips. But you really, really want to make sure that the peer knows that you're engaged in this conversation, and avoiding interruptions is like one of the best ways for the peer to feel heard. And on that note, if the peer is talking and you have something that you would like to say that is related to the conversation, don't interrupt the peer. This really is not a time for, you don't want to interrupt their train of thought or anything like that. You can hold on to that thought for later, and when the peer is finished talking, then you can bring it up. But interrupting the peer right in the middle of a sentence for you to say something is really not the way to go, just so they can get all their thoughts out there before anything else is kind of thrown in there into the mix of their ideas. And overall, your goal as a peer listener is to not give advice and just like help the peer come to their own conclusions, guide them to a conclusion. In the end, you want the peer to be talking 90% of the time and you to be talking 10% of the time. And that's all I have for active listening.
Hello, everyone. My name is Craig Brunner. I am one of the head leaders for peer listeners on campus. I think James already gave a little intro to who we are. So I'm in Long Beach, California right now, in Southern California, about 45 minutes southwest of LA, for any of you who know where that is. I'm back at home, hopefully coming back to school soon. But yeah, I'm just going to be talking today about feelings. I think, and I think all of your listeners think, especially nowadays, like people are going through some pretty rough stuff, being socially isolated, distant from families, friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, cousins, whoever. We're all distant from somebody. It's all taking a toll on us one way or the other. So there's the potential for other problems to come up. I mean, if someone comes to you with like an issue or something, maybe a family member, younger brother, sister, even older brother, sister, or a friend, they might tell you something like along the lines of like a feeling, and you really want to know how to like help them like identify what the feeling is, paraphrase what those feelings are, define and clarify the feeling for them. Maybe they're a little confused, especially nowadays. People are just confused, because just so many weird things are going on. And then like maybe if you can figure out what the feeling is, or they figure it out, be like, hey, you're like take responsibility for the feeling. It's not bad to like have a feeling. And then have them like deal with those feelings in like an appropriate way. So like basically the way you start with this, so there's just a broad overview like feelings, but how to like specifically deal with each step. So step one is you really want to identify the feeling your friend or whoever is having. Ask them very open-ended questions. You want them to be able to really explore themselves what they're feeling. You don't want to ask them, are you feeling mad? Are you feeling sad? Those are very close-ended, like yes, no questions. And sometimes can even make them think, oh yes, I am mad. If you say, are you mad? And then maybe like, oh yeah, maybe I am mad. And they might actually not actually be mad. So ask them questions like, how does that make you feel? How are you feeling right now? How would you describe this experience? And then once they tell you, maybe like, oh, maybe like I'm feeling mad and I'm feeling frustrated, and you're like, okay, maybe you can like paraphrase that and like try to like say like, so I'm just trying to understand, you're feeling angry because X, because Y, you're feeling sad because this, just so you can show them that you are listening, and so you can actually understand what they're saying, so you can better help them. That's the whole point of this. Then like try and like clarify the feeling. Being mad is kind of broad sometimes. So maybe ask them like, what do you mean when you say you feel mad? Like what specifically is making you mad? Ask them to describe how like what that madness is, or what the sadness is. Or like just really, maybe the anger really is more frustration, because those are two different things. Maybe the sadness is anger. That is just, maybe they're sad, but it's manifesting in anger. That happens a lot. You get angry, or you get sad, and then you become angry. Maybe you don't really know why. Maybe something happened, and you just don't really want to talk to people about it. yeah, so trying to get to the root of the issue. And if they really are just mad, then they are just mad. Yeah, and then once you figure out that they are angry, just like say to them in a direct way. So you're angry right now, and they might be like, "Yeah, I am angry." Encourage them to say that, "Yes, I'm angry, and that's okay. Yes, I'm sad. It's okay to be sad. No matter what society people say, it's okay to be sad." Yeah. So then so that was identify the feeling, define and clarify the feeling. Is the feeling more complex than sad? And then take responsibility for the feeling. Yes, I'm angry. Yeah, you're angry right now. And then you want to deal with that. You want to find ways that they can really like healthily deal with that. Maybe just keep talking to them about it. Have them maybe deal with the situation if they can deal with it right away, or just being there to listen to them, or maybe asking them just what they think they can do about it. You don't want to tell them what they can do about it. You just want to help them learn how to deal with tough situations, because not everyone's always going to be there to help them when a tough situation comes around. So they also need to learn how to deal with it themselves. Yeah, so maybe some ways you can help them deal with feelings is to relate thoughts and experiences to those feelings. Find correlations between what makes them feel this way and why. Maybe you can like find a pattern. Be like, hey, I'm like, maybe if they're a good friend or close family member, you can be like, hey, I've noticed you got mad when this happens, when this happens, when this happens, and they all seem to be related. Is there any way we can get around this, or have you found any like strategies in the past for maybe helping you deal with this? And then really encourage them to keep going with their feelings. Feelings are really important, not thoughts. Don't be like, if they start saying, I think, we'll be like, yeah, that's a thought, but how does that thought make you feel? So really get them to keep expressing feelings. Yeah, I just say that the most important thing with this is really just being there and asking the open-ended questions and really getting to the root of the issue, because there might just be something behind it. Encourage them to keep saying that they're angry, they're sad, they're mad, or whatever. Just encourage them to keep saying that, and encourage them to let them know it's okay. It's all right to feel angry sometimes. It's all right to feel sad, especially nowadays. And like one more other thing to note is that this does happen like over Zoom or Google Meets or FaceTime or whatever. Someone might all of a sudden just like come to you with something, and we usually have all these non-verbal cues, but you might not be able to like pick up on them as well. But what you can pick up on is like, I have like a pen, I like to hold things in my hands. Maybe like someone's like tapping their pen a lot, or like they seem to be fidgeting or not making eye contact with you. That's what you should be doing. You should be making eye contact with them. That makes them feel happy. But if they're like, like looking away or like putting their head like this or something's definitely not right. That might be kind of obvious to some people, but other people it might not be. But yeah, generally people, no, I just threw my pen. Generally people like make eye contact, but obviously if they're like fidgeting, if they can't really sit down, there might be something up, and you might want to probe respectfully a little further into what might be getting them down. Yeah, so that's feelings. Hope you guys enjoy the other videos to whoever watches this.
Hey everyone, I'm Tina. I'm another one of the Peer Listeners leaders. Currently a senior here at Whitman, and soon to be graduating, whatever that's gonna look like. And I'm gonna be talking to you a little bit about paraphrasing. So, I'm sure you're hearing me say this, paraphrasing. Okay, Tina, I know what paraphrasing is. I use it, whatever. But these are pretty useful skills to, basic but useful skills to go over, because we may not necessarily think about how we're doing these things, and being more aware of it will just help you become a better active listener overall. And paraphrasing is especially useful in the time of more video calls, on whatever platform you're using, Zoom, Google Meet, WhatsApp, FaceTime, whatever. Because we can't use our body language as much as we maybe can in person. So that's where paraphrasing can kind of make up for that lack of communicating through body language. So there are three main things that I want to go over with you about paraphrasing, why it's useful, things to pay attention to. And those kind of three areas are, first of all, it helps to verify understanding. It also helps to, secondly, notice, recognize patterns. And then third, probably most important, it shows you're listening and demonstrating empathy. So I'll go through each of those three and then a few examples as well as an important note to keep in mind. So first we'll start out with clarifying, verifying understanding. Paraphrasing is useful is like a check-in point, really. If somebody's been talking to you about something for a while, when a natural pause comes in the conversation, it's good to just kind of check in and be like, so it sounds like, you're feeling like this, maybe. And make sure that you're really just reflecting back to them what you've been hearing. And hearing that reflected back is useful for the peer so that they kind of know if you're on the same page, really. And, they might say, no, that's not really what I've, been saying. Or maybe it's spot on. They're like, yeah, that's what I have been feeling. Or just whatever situation it is they're talking about. And it's also, just good as a check-in. So secondly, it's good as a way to maybe point out patterns that you see happening. So if there's kind of a similar thread that carries through whatever the person who's been talking to you has been saying, it's helpful to reflect that back to them, right? So you could say, wow, it sounds like this has been happening a lot. Would you agree? Or just kind of ask them, am I understanding that correctly? And then, again, that may be just a good point of affirmation for the person to be like, yeah, it feels like this particular thing has been happening a lot. Or it could be kind of a moment of realization for the person you're talking to. Be like, I hadn't really noticed it, but now that you pointed out, yeah. So it's good to paraphrasing is good to kind of reflect back those patterns or trends you see in whatever your peer is talking to you about. And then the third thing is paraphrasing is really important for demonstrating empathy, right? And really just showing that you're listening, showing that you care, creating a supportive environment, right? You definitely don't want to just sit there in silence the whole time. Nobody wants to be talking to a blank wall, right? Kind of like what I'm doing, but hopefully that's not what the peer would be experiencing, right? And an interaction between two people. And it also shows, paraphrasing also shows that you're actually trying to understand what somebody's saying, rather than just like nodding your head like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. So just really, and this kind of relates to the affirmations, which we talked about earlier. You want to be showing that you're engaged, and this really is, it's not passive listening, it's really active listening, where you're creating an environment that's supportive for whoever you're talking to. Yeah. So those are kind of the three main things to keep in mind when thinking about paraphrasing and why it's, even just important to talk about. And then a few examples, which you already heard me use some. But just reiterate, you can say things like, oh, so sounds like blah, blah, blah. Or, so what I hear you saying is, in other words, blank, you know, just things like that. So seems like, if I'm just, use whatever kind of flows naturally, right? You don't have to have like a script, but, yeah. And then the last thing to keep in mind is when paraphrasing and just in, you know, interactions where you're listening in general, you don't want to be offering your own insights, like interpreting or analyzing the situation yourself, unless the person you're talking to specifically requests your input, right? Sometimes people just want to talk about what is on their mind, and they don't necessarily want somebody coming in and being like, okay, here's how to fix all your little problems. Just kind of expressing those emotions and getting them out is the useful part. So just keep that in mind when paraphrasing. You're really trying to just reflect back what you've heard and not offer any insights into the situation or like put any things in the person's mind, you know? You're just checking in, making sure you're understanding, doing those three things, right? Verifying understanding, making sure or pointing out patterns that you see, and then making sure you're listening, demonstrating empathy. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for paraphrasing. Those are the key things to keep in mind. Usually I'd ask, in a typical training, I'd ask people if they have any questions, but do you have a question? Any questions? I can't answer them, but you can actually go to our website, the Women College Peer Listeners. There should be a link to our website, and we have resources, specifically the email. You can, you know, send an email to that and it'll reach us leaders, and we will respond to you if you have any questions, comments, if you're just feeling lonely. Yeah, but definitely do check out our website. We finally got a new picture uploaded. We look amazing. So just go to our website to see our beautiful faces, really. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for you. Hope you're doing well, and time to move on to the next segment.
Hey everyone, I'm Abby. I'm a sophomore, and I'm also one of the leaders. During this stressful time that comes with so much uncertainty, as well as our conversations with peers, family members, or really anyone around us, it's important to, or it can be helpful to really get back to the basics of asking questions and what kinds of questions should be asked when. Questions are a guiding method that can be used to help someone else realize their own feelings and begin towards a solution. When asking questions, it's important not to pry or to be judgmental. There's 4 different types of questions. Closed questions, like, did that make you feel sad, can be answered by yes or no. They're useful for collecting information, however they can slow conversation. Open questions, like, what are your thoughts, allow for more elaboration, keeping the conversation going. These usually begin with how, what, or could. Informational questions are asked to receive direct information. These sound like, when did this happen, or has this happened before? And then feeling questions are the most important questions in listening, and asking someone, how does that make you feel, allows them to elaborate on their feelings and then leads to reflection. The best listening and conversations come about from a combination of all of these types of questions, of course. And the use of the word why in questions is also important to consider or reconsider, because it can make the other person defensive by making them feel like they have to justify themselves. And rephrasing the question is usually the better way, to go, such as changing why are you here to what brings you here. Conversations and questions will definitely look and sound different right now, as we're all using various forms of technology to connect and spending long periods of time in small spaces together, but hopefully this can help in some ways.
Hello again. Thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful. If you would like to learn more about the Peer Listeners program, you can check out the Counseling Center website. We've got a page in there. And there you can also find some more mental health, coronavirus-related information, articles, and apps that are worth checking out. So lots of good resources available. But yeah, thanks for watching, and stay healthy, take care, and yeah, see ya.
We're hoping you guys are staying happy, healthy, and safe during this time, and we hope to see you back on campus in the fall.